One of the joys of the seminary was that I was able to kind of travel the world to all these different countries. And one of the places we got to go, like some of you here, was to the Holy Land, to Jerusalem. And we were there for 3 weeks. And it was an amazing and beautiful experience. And we started off being in Nazareth. And when you're in Nazareth, you can see Mount Tabor off in the distance. It's really not that far away. It's not the biggest mountain in the world, of course, but it's a big hill. It'd be fun to ski. It'll be better than Buck Hill or something like that. But there you could see it, Mount Tabor, and you could imagine that Jesus would have gone there more than once in his life. As a child, as a teenager, I'm sure he went there to play. Maybe they gather food, to go hunting maybe, everything like this. You never know. But we hear about him today, that he's going to Mount Tabor, and he's bringing these disciples with him. What for? To go up the mountain to do what? Whenever Jesus goes up the mountain, it's usually to go and to pray. So he's leaving these people down below. We remember when he comes down the mountain, we know people are waiting for him. So he's retreating up this mountain to pray. About a week into the trip, we as a class were able to go to visit the Church of the Transfiguration on top of Mount Tabor. Now, I love every single one of my classmates. I enjoy their company. I still do. It's great. But as everyone knows, when you travel with someone, it's a little bit different. They always say you have friends and you have people you can travel with. And we're forced into traveling with these friends and buddies of mine. About a week into the trip, we start getting each other's nerves. I'm one that if we say the bus is leaving at 8 o'clock, I will be there by 7:59. Of classmates of mine that still to this day say leaving at 8 o'clock, they'll show up at about 8:30. Remember the first time it happens, you laugh about it. Second time, you get a little frustrated. The third time, you're like, really? You didn't figure out we've been waiting for 30 minutes for you because you had to eat your oatmeal? It's time to go, right? And so all this starts building up on us about a week in, and we go to Mount Tabor, we go to the Transfiguration. But this time we still like each other, but we start getting each other's nerves. So we get to the top of the mountain, we take a bus up, a winding road, we go into this beautiful Church of the Transfiguration. It was so nice that we could go into these places that Jesus wasn't to pray and meditate on everything that was going on. And so I'm sitting there, the bottom of the church. There's a beautiful nativity scene going on because it was right after Christmas. Beautiful icon, I'm sure, the Transfiguration. My heart is raising up to God, and all of a sudden, I can hear in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and my classmates praying the rosary. They had a tradition of praying the rosary at every single Holy Sunday we went to. And I love the rosary. I do. I pray it every single day. I love it. But at that time, I didn't want to hear my friends that I was angry with praying the rosary. I wanted to pray. And I got really, really frustrated really, really quick. I could start feeling in my heart these emotions I knew weren't true. But this upset and frustration built up in me. And all of a sudden I caught myself. I said, I can't do this. And so I stood up and I left the church. I retreated. And I went outside. And I prayed outside looking at the same things that Jesus would have looked at, the same geography, the same landscape. Just sitting there and praying and meditating on the Transfiguration. And when I knew the rosary was over, about 17, 18 minutes, right? I went back inside the church. My friends never knew I was upset with them. But I had to retreat. I had to get away. I had to pray. And then speak to God and say, God, I don't know what's going on inside of me, but transform me so that I can be generous to these, my friends. Jesus retreats all the time, we hear in the gospel. Jesus goes up the mountain to pray. If Jesus does this, how much more do we have to do this? How much more do we have to retreat from this world sometimes and just sit in God's presence and let him love us? So often people say, Father, I don't know how to pray. Here's a great example of how to pray. Go inside of our adoration chapel. Sit in front of the Eucharist and don't say a thing. God will speak to you in that silence. He'll give you everything that you need. As I mentioned, when I got here, Matthew Kelly recommends what? Praying 10 minutes a day, every single day. It'll transform you. It'll make you one of those dynamic Catholics we always talk about. I made this challenge to the confirmation kids. I've been reading a couple of their papers. I've been glancing at them. And some of the confirmation kids have actually followed through with this. They've been reading 10 minutes, not reading, they've been praying 10 minutes a day. It says it's transformed their life. They have a greater relationship with God. Why? Because they're taking the time to let God love them. They're sitting in that silence and saying, God, be with me. And we need to do this as well. It's so awesome and amazing, inspiring, that when I stop in the Adoration Chapel, I'll see people stop in for 3 or 4 minutes just to check in, to kneel down, and I don't wonder what they're praying about, but I know they're praying. My guess is sometimes they're going, God, help me when I go home today to be the father, to be the mother I'm called to be. Help me to deal with my friends or my business partner I'm having a really hard time with. And just putting it in front of him. They're retreating. They're taking that time of silence. Of course, those who have signed up for an adoration hour, they can attest for how much it's transformed their life. But I cannot help but look over there right now and see that board and say, how many more hours do we still have to fill? What's prohibiting us? What's stopping us from dedicating an hour of God to adoring the Lord? Maybe it's because you have a child and you're afraid, what if they cry in there? Let them cry in there. Jesus wants to speak to them as well. Go, sign up for an hour. It's going to transform you. So that's the prayer, to do it every single day. But that's not it. We should go on retreats. We always plan vacations. We look forward to them. Oh, I can't wait to go to Mexico. Oh, I can't wait to go to the Caribbean. Oh, I can't wait to go to Lake of the Woods. Whatever it may be. But do you have a retreat planned in there as well? So many of you have gone through Curseal, and it's transformed you. Next time that Simon, Donna, Kerber call you, because they will, say yes. Or say, I can't make it this week, but call me again next time. And take courage and respond. Maybe it's Curseal. Maybe it's de Montreville. Maybe it's going to St. John's University for one of the many retreats that they're offering. I know that right now 4 of our parishioners are up there. I know this because we did have a sacristan last night because she was on retreat. And it was really hard for me, but I said, praise God, she needs it. Do you realize that every single person that goes through marriage prep for the Archdiocese has to go on a retreat? A weekend retreat? Why? So that God can speak to them, so they can help them enter into marriage. And the joke I always say, but it's true, if they go on a retreat before they get married, how much more do they have to go on a retreat when they're married? Right? It's true. Going on a retreat for your marriage is not a bad thing. It's going to help you. It's going to help you fall more in love with God and with each other. As a priest, I am required by canon law to go on retreat every single year. In a couple weeks, I'm going to hop in an airplane. I'm going to go to Alabama, Huntsville, I think. I don't know. I saw an email saying priest retreat. I signed up for it. I'm going away for a week in silence. And I'm looking forward to it, to let God speak to me, to let him to speak to me, let me know, what do I need to change? How must I be transformed? Of course, those are the formal retreats. But as well as these prayer opportunities, when you hear that there's a talk going on, treat it like a retreat. When St. Hubert's offers a parish mission, you have permission to go. Take advantage of it. Next Tuesday, the Archdiocese of St. Hubert's is a bigger facility for something called Ore Jesu. On March 25th, a 2-hour session of prayer, of adoration for everyone. Confessors available. Treat that as a retreat. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, Father, I don't want to. I don't want to go on retreat, or I'm scared. I get scared every single time before I retreat. I do. Sometimes when I go and pray, I'm scared. I'm scared to go to God and say, God, what do I need to change? What do I need to transform? It's hard to admit that. But simply say, God, where do I need to improve? And let him talk to you in prayer and on a retreat. I remember my favorite retreat when I went to Ars, France. Ars, France is where St. John Vianney is from. And I went there right before I got ordained to the priesthood, maybe about 4 months ahead of time. I remember 2 weeks ahead of time, I can't wait for the retreat. Then a week ahead of time, I started feeling this thought in my soul and in my mind saying, I'm kind of afraid. And I wasn't really looking forward to the retreat, so I'm still going. Remember 3 days ahead of time, I started thinking, what if I cancel? I don't need to go. And the day that I was going to leave for my retreat, I went to my mom and I said, Mom, if I get to the airport and they say that they can bump me from the flight, I'm going to say yes. Because I do not want to go. And so I got to the airport. And sure enough, the attendant looks at me and says, "Can we bump you from the flight to Atlanta?" "Yes, you can." I said it with confidence, thinking, yes, I don't have to go. At least I can delay it for a couple days. She goes, "Great, where are you flying to?" I said, "I'm going to Paris." She says, "Well, we can get you there." I go, "Great, in a couple days, right?" She goes, "No, 2 hours ahead of your arrival time already scheduled. I'll give you $800 voucher. I'll bump you up to emergency row in first class. When we can." I go, "Okay, if this is not God speaking, who is?" So sure enough, I said, "Yes, I'll take that." And I'm on that airplane thinking, what's going on? I get to Amsterdam and I hear my luggage is lost. I go, "Great, awesome." I try to get a train ticket down to Paris and I can't find one. Eventually I find when I get down to Paris, or whatever, it's Paris to Ars, whatever it may be. This time I haven't slept for 20 hours. I'm hungry. I'm upset. I'm frustrated. I finally take a taxi cab into Ars, France. And I get there. And all of a sudden a sense of peace comes over me. And all of a sudden, I just go and kneel in front of the Blessed Sacrament. And God spoke to me. And what he said is, "Alex, I know you're scared. I know you're worried. I know that this priesthood thing is daunting. But I'm going to provide for you. I'm going to love you. And I'm going to be there for you." And that whole week, God just spoke to me through the intercession of St. John Vianney. And I'd spend hours upon hours in prayer without even looking at my watch and just letting God speak to me. And I was so scared before that. But God spoke to me. He said, "You're worthy. You will do this. Yes, you need to change, but I'll be with you." My brothers and sisters, we need to go to God and be open. When we're scared, to be open. Say, "God, transform me. Change me so I may serve you. Change me so that I may grow in my faith." And the way that we do this, yes, is by going on retreats, by going to these prayer events, by praying 10 minutes a day, but simply by just calling out so often to God, "God, be with me, love me, and help transform me." Because what I desire above everything else is to serve you and to serve you alone.